Alright, we're not quite done yet. There are a few minor details and characters we have to get through. First off, Ponyhead. Oh boy. So, nobody really likes Ponyhead, including me, but to remove her entirely wouldn't quite work because she does fill a role in the story. Because of who Star is, it would be really weird if she didn't have any friends from uni, therefore Ponyhead. The biggest problem with Ponyhead is that she's so over the top that you can't really put her in any serious scene. Her presence alone would ruin the tone, and the actual writers of the show are fully aware of this. You'll notice that throughout the entirety of the show, she's mysteriously absent when major plot events are happening. Which I guess is fine, unless you want her to be an important character in the story. To fix this, I'd say you should tone her down a bit, but her character design alone is the most over-the-top thing about her. And if nothing else, it perfectly matches her exaggerated stereotype of a personality. So what then? Replace her with a different character? I mean, if I was writing the show, that's probably what I would do. But we're working with what we're given, and what we're given is Ponyhead, so here's what we're gonna do. Ponyhead only makes appearances in the mirror. She never actually appears in person until the St. Olga's episode, after which she only ever appears in mirrors again. This show is weird in how it handles its characters, so some of them are going to have to be promoted to major characters, and some of them are going to have to be demoted to minor characters. Pony is being demoted to a minor character, and you can probably guess why. Next up is King River. So here's a character that exists, and here's what we should do with him. Remember how in the first episode he's properly introduced, it's revealed that he's like a monster-hunting wild man and acts like a normal boring king to hide it? Instead of throwing that out the window immediately, we stick with that. That's it. Every episode after his first appearance, he just acts completely insane at all times. And he essentially becomes just as tone-breaking as Ponyhead, but there's no need for him to be like that. Later in the series, there's a flashback episode where we see both him and Queen Moon as kids, and he seems perfectly normal then. He's not a genius or anything, but he's a completely rational human being. Unlike his future self, who is... well, just look at him. He's ultimately a pretty minor character in the story, and I guess that's for the best because it's hard to imagine him having a real heart-to-heart with Star or any other character because he seems like he'd just get distracted by a bird or something. Just have him be a sensible guy, and maybe he goes beast mode every now and then. There, now we have a character who can be, I don't know, a father to Star and not just a complete lunatic all the time. We're not actually going to talk about Moon yet though, because she's not properly introduced until next season. But rest assured, we'll get to her at some point. At the moment, she's just a very distant figure who Star has some hang-ups about. Finally, there's one last thing I'd like to discuss before we close up on Season 1. Location, location, location. So the first seasons mostly take place in Echo Creek. Luckily, we have the added flavor of traveling to other dimensions, places that could actually be interesting. The show is super vague about dimensions though, and it seems like there's an infinite number of them, which seems great on paper because, you know, the possibilities are endless. But there's nothing more terrifying than a blank canvas. And what this infinity of possibility leads to in the show is a dimension that looks like this. A place supposedly full of the most interesting things that seems empty and barren. So here's what we do. We limit the dimensions. We have a literal list of them, and we set the number low. Maybe there's like 8 dimensions or something. I don't know, just put a lid on it. Well, shit. Suddenly these dimensions all have to be important. Think about the Bounce Lounge. Is this an entire dimension? Or is this club just one building in a regular dimension? Is Quest by an entire dimension? Okay, so now we only have 4 dimensions left. How many do we need for the rest of the show? Well, we have the time dimension, the magic dimension, the Kelly dimension, the goblin dog dimension. Man, we ran out of dimensions, and we haven't even gotten to some of the important ones. We gotta start consolidating these dimensions, man. Okay, what if we combine a bunch of these? Maybe the Bounce Lounge, Quest by, and the Goblin Dog place are all the same dimension. The shopping mall dimension or something. Hell, we'll just wrap up Kelly's dimension in there and bam, we got a whole location. A world where people live as opposed to a bunch of disparate, seemingly unrelated random places. Now we can actually care about the things that happen there. You know, maybe Ludo and Star can have a fight there or something. I don't know. But this way the audience can get attached to places as well as people. We can even keep some of the dimensions mysterious so we can unveil them later. But no more weird one-off dimensions that don't matter. Isn't this neat? Isn't it more interesting to have a few places we care about instead of an infinite number of places we don't care about? Well, I think so.